Hello, it's Reija and welcome to my Kekri Party wrap-up. I will leave my original announcement video of the Kekri Party cultural exchange down in the description if you want to know what Kekri actually is. But in this video I will go over all the things that I did during the weekend and what I got up to. And without further ado, let's get started. So first up on the bingo board was the outdoors, and I had this glorious plan for Saturday to go out ghost hunting because there's this book called Helsingin Henget, Spirits of Helsinki, that goes over all of kind of Helsinki related ghost stories and puts them on a map, and you can actually go like to these different places. Unfortunately, the weather was like, nope, you're not going anywhere, because it was raining and on Sunday it actually started snowing. So unfortunately, no outdoors for me. I did go have a cup of coffee down at the local mall because I was already out, but unfortunately I couldn't hang out in the wild outdoors and enjoy the lovely fall colors. Let me know in the comments if you would be interested in me going on this ghost hunting expedition, and I will make that happen in the near future or next year. You know, nice to have my next year's Halloween plans already figured out. So no outdoors, but how about candles and ancestors? So I looked through all of my pictures of my relatives, and we had a little discussion with my partner and talked about our different like family traditions and stuff. And I found pictures of my father's parents who have both passed away, and also of my aunt who passed away last year, my father's sister. And I organized a little bit of a candle shrine for them and lit candles and kind of like had a couple of hours of like silence and just sat in peace and read a book and burned candles and kind of like thought about all of the things that they meant for me. And it was a very nice and peaceful moment, and I think that I will make it my own personal tradition to try to do that more often and to try to, you know, resurrect some of those more peaceful and more positive memories from my childhood and from my family members. So that was a nice thing. And then on Saturday evening, partner made us pancakes, or waffles actually, and it was really nice. The waffles tasted amazing. Unfortunately, we did not have any cream, so we had to have them with just the raspberry jam, but anyway, they were good waffles. And on Sunday we went full on Kekri Party. I made the Karelian Hotpot, which is the traditional Finnish food of my people. I am of Karelian and of Savonian ancestry, so I made that. I called my mom actually to get her help and get her tips on how to perfect the recipe, because sometimes when I've made it, it's become more like watery and salty, and it hasn't had the actual like meaty juices and the good taste that is supposed to be there. So my mom coached me on the phone on how to get it just right, and it was great. I also made some like roasted potatoes on the side and kind of marinated them so that we would have a little bit of like more zest in the potatoes, and it was nice. And that was our hearty meal. And I also made a traditional Finnish oven-baked pancake, which is basically like this really thick dough, and then you put it in the oven and let it cook for about half an hour, and it tastes wonderful and it's like super soft and moist. and we had that with for dessert with cream and raspberry jam, and partner made us some nice coffee drinks, and he made me or they made me a lovely like a ghost latte art, which was cute. So that was also my warm drink, a nice cup of coffee. And for comfy clothes, I wore these really cool Sweet Legs leggings that Andrea helped me to get, and they had this really awesome like witchy print, and I really think that these are probably like the softest, warmest, most magnificent leggings I have ever owned, and I think I need to at some point go back in and order a couple more pairs because the quality in these leggings is amazing. And yes, I got to know about Sweet Legs from books and Lala. I am that sort of person. And I went and ordered a couple for myself. Really good quality. Highly recommend. And I also had these really long, kind of like under the knee woolen socks that my mom has made me, and also a black, really soft tunic. And yeah, those were my comfy clothes. I felt really like put together, but also super comfortable, and that's the way I like it. What else? So I've covered hearty meal, warm drink, outdoors, ancestors. I should probably go over myths and local stories. So for myth, I actually had a really interesting discussion with partner about Kalevala and about my favorite fuckboy, Lemminkäinen, because partner was of the mind that Lemminkäinen was the original like player, like a Playboy character, and I argued that no, a Playboy character is the sort of person who people actually line up to have a fling with, whereas Lemminkäinen literally had to rob a person from her own wedding to get laid. So Lemminkäinen is not a Playboy, Lemminkäinen is a fuckboy. There's a difference. So I thought I would regale you with the legend of Lemminkäinen because it is one of my favorite stories in Kalevala. So Lemminkäinen in Kalevala is portrayed as this really handsome, fair-haired youth. And his story begins, as I said, with a kidnapping. He goes to a wedding, he crashes a wedding, he kidnaps the bride and forces her to marry him. And then gets really miffed that Kyllikki, the bride, is like, no, I hate you, and doesn't really want anything to do with him. And he's like, well, like, how dare you? I'm going to go ask the Maiden of the North to marry me instead because you are being such a bitch. And she's like, well, good riddance. And Lemminkäinen's mother is like, no, if you go on this trip, something bad is going to happen. Like, I've had a premonition. And Lemminkäinen is like, nah. And he basically puts a hairbrush through the wall and says that if this hairbrush starts to bleed, then you'll know that something has happened to me. And then he's like, bye-bye, and goes off on his adventure. And he goes to the north and asks Louhi, who is basically the queen in the north, and she's also a very powerful sorcerer, to ask for the hand of her daughter, the Maiden of the North. And Louhi is like, bitch, who is this like pompous ass? Like why should I give this person with no name and no connections the hand of my only daughter? Like, no. And Louhi basically sets Lemminkäinen on a task that she knows he will fail, and during this task Lemminkäinen gets himself killed as one does, and he's whisked away to Tuonela to basically rot. And at his home, the hairbrush starts to bleed, and Lemminkäinen's mother realizes that a terrible fate has befallen her son, and she goes to look for him and eventually finds out that he is in Tuonela and he has died. So she goes to Ilmarinen, who is the smith, the demigod who forged the heavens and forged the lid that lays on top of the world and is the sky. And she goes to him and is like, I need a rake so that I can fish out my son from the river Tuoni. And Ilmarinen is like, sure, okay. And he makes her a rake. You know, Finns always very powerful rakers. And she goes to the river Tuoni and she rakes the body parts of Lemminkäinen out of the Tuoni, puts them back together and uses the honey from a bee to give him life again. So, in essence, the true hero in this myth isn't even Lemminkäinen, who is like the worst, but actually his mother, who is basically like this, she is like the representative of this ultimate sacrifice and the ultimate kind of mother's love. Which I don't know why, because her son is the worst. And fun fact, Akseli Gallen-Kallela, who painted this picture of the mother of Lemminkäinen, used his own mother as the model for the painting. And in order to get the perfect anguished look on her face, he would tell her all sorts of sad stories so that, you know, she'd look the appropriate level of anguished and sad, which is kind of funny. So yeah, that's my favorite myth from Kalevala, but there's also a sort of local legend / local story that I want to share from my hometown. In my hometown, there is this castle that I have visited many times. There's this huge opera festival being held there every year. And there's this legend related to this castle about a maiden who was accused of treachery of letting the Russian forces into the castle. And she was buried, according to the legend, she was buried alive into the wall of the castle. But she was innocent, and because she was innocent, a rowan tree started growing from the wall, and it had these beautiful white flowers and red berries to prove her innocence. And there's also this song about this legend, which I will link down in the description so you can go and listen to it, that tells about this legend and about this maiden and how the real culprit, how the real treacherous person was actually the lover of this maid. And I've always loved that story. When I was a kid, I would constantly ask my mom to sing the song. And a couple of years ago, when we went with my cousin to the castle and we had the tour, I asked about the legend because they used to tell it. They used to tell it as part of the tour. And the guy was like, well, we don't tell that anymore because there's no proven, like, it's not historically proven that that actually happened and that there hasn't been any people buried in the walls of the castle. And I was like, yeah, but that's the point. It's a legend. It's a myth. It's a legend that has to do with the I'm sure nobody here believes that it's actually how it happened. But anyway, I'm still kind of miffed about that. But yeah, those are one of my favorite like myths and legends and local stories, you know. So there's that. What else? I think that's actually all there is to my Kekri party. I also used cleanliness for my free space. I took a bath. Ideally, a Finnish person would go to a sauna, but we don't actually have our own sauna, so we usually have to scavenge our friends' premises if we want to like have a nice bit of sauna. But I do have a bathtub, so I went and had a bath with this nice Lush bath bomb, which is shaped like a teapot, and you can actually like dip it in like a tea bag, which was great. So I just soaked there and had a lovely time, and it was amazing. And yeah, it was just basically a very relaxing weekend, just taking my time to chill and ponder about life and think about my culture and what kind of traditions I want to have, and building my own traditions. And I am so happy that other people participated. I saw Andreas and Shannon's videos, which I will also link down in the description so you can check those out as well. And I am so happy that people participated, and I had so much fun coming up with this, and most likely I will also be doing this next year. And there you have it. This has been my wrap up of the Kekri party, of the Kekri celebrations. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up and, you know, share it with your friends, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye bye!